Good morning. Today we discuss the last chapter, which is chapter 7, and it's on asymmetrical bending and curved beams. So, this is the last topic for this course. So, after learning this course, we'll be able to find out how to find out stresses in asymmetrical bending situations, and then you'll be able to find out what's it called the rotation of neutral axis in asymmetrical bending, and finally we discuss curved beams. So to start up, the first one is all about asymmetrical bending. So before diving directly to the so-called asymmetrical bending, is first to see what is symmetrical bending is. Symmetrical bending, you have already covered this course or this topic in the same of material as well. What was it? Symmetrical bending, when the couple acts along the plane of symmetry, or thus on the plane of symmetry, then we call that kind of bending symmetrical, right? So the first thing to be symmetrical bending, the section by itself should be what? Symmetrical. And then the couple acting on it should act on what? On the plane of symmetry. On the plane of symmetry. If this is the situation, we call it symmetrical bending. Look at on this figure. For example, the first figure here, uh, the first figure here, you can see that there is I section, right? This is an I section. Uh, Look, this is an I-section beam. This I-section beam has two planes of symmetry. Look at them. It has two planes of symmetry. One XY plane is the plane of symmetry. Another XZ plane is also the plane of symmetry. But for this case, the couple is acting on what? On XY plane. The couple is acting on the XY plane. So look at them. M is the couple vector. M is the couple vector. What is the xy axis? How does the xy axis shown on the screen? Well, x axis is normal to the screen, right? X axis is the axis which is normal to the screen. So look at the xy plane and xz plane are what? Planes of symmetry. Now, because the couple is acting on the plane of symmetry, then the bending is called symmetrical. The bending is called symmetrical. Now notice how we put this couple there. Look, suppose this is the plane of symmetry of the IB, which is this is XY plane, right? If I hold it like this, it's going to be XY plane, right? This is the XY plane. Now look, I'm saying that whenever the couple acts on the plane of symmetry, then the bending is called symmetrical. So look, I use always my right hand rule, and my fingers are currently indicate the direction of rotation, and my thumb indicates what? The direction of vector. So how do I use the couple vector? Well, it's acting to this plane, then the vector is going to be like this, right? So that's why then you have such a notation. But on XZ plane, there is no couple acting, right? XZ plane is this one. If I hold it like this, it's XZ plane. D, and this is X, right? So this idea is free of what? Free of couple along the axis. So in any way then, if the couple axis along the plane of symmetry, then the bending is called symmetrical. The first thing is symmetrical bending, the section by itself should be what? Symmetrical. The section by itself should be symmetrical. Look at the second figure. The second figure is a channel B. This is we call it a channel B. Now on this channel B, how many planes of symmetry does the channel beam have? How many planes of symmetry does the channel beam have? One. It has only one plane of symmetry. Which one is a plane of symmetry? Is this XC or XY plane? X XY plane is a plane of symmetry. XZ plane is not a plane of symmetry, right? The vertical one is a plane of symmetry, which is the plane which I call XY plane is a plane of symmetry. So the couple is acting on this plane. How? You see? So that's why we put the vector like this. This is the plane of symmetry. This is how the couple acts. My thumb indicates what? The direction of the filter. My fingers indicate the curving direction. If I calculate, they indicate the rotation of the moment, right? So that's why we call this one symmetrical bending. In both cases, notice that the so-called the coupled vector coincides with what? The neutral axis. It coincides with the neutral axis. What is neutral axis? Neutral axis is an axis where stress is zero, right? Or if you neutral plane, then on that plane stress are zero, meaning there is no deformation on those axes. Now let's see what unsymmetrical bending is, which is the discussion for this course. Unsymmetrical bending. This is already covered in the second module as well. And for this, notice this y x axis are the principal central axis. And for this, we use the Fletcher equation, if you remember from the second module as well. And this one, the second one, which is unsymmetrical bending, whenever the couple acts in a plane different from the plane of symmetry, then the bending is called asymmetric. So to be asymmetric bending, the couple shouldn't act in a plane of symmetry of the member. So there are two cases to call it asymmetrical bending. One, if the member doesn't possess any plane of symmetry, then definitely the bending is what? Asymmetric. Right? Or if the section is asymmetrical at all, then the bending is asymmetric. But if the member possesses at least one plane of symmetry, there may be a possibility to be symmetrical or asymmetrical bending. Now look at it, the channel B, which is the figure in the middle part. This is the channel B. Channel B, we have already said that it has how many planes of symmetry? One plane of symmetry. But if you look at on this figure, the couple M is acting on a different plane, from the symmetry. It's acting at a different plane from the symmetry. So such kind of couples, they cause what? They cause asymmetrical bending. Why they are asymmetrical? Because it's not at the plane of symmetry of the member. Clearly, for this channel B, I hope the so-called the plane of symmetry appears to be like this, right? But how does the couple acting? Well, the couple is acting at a different axis, or it's acting in a different plane. So that's why we call it asymmetric bending. How about this one? The I section B. The I section clearly it has two planes of symmetry. There is no problem on this. But the problem here is that the couple is acting on a different plane. It's not acting on the plane of symmetry. This couple M is not acting on the plane of symmetry. So that's why we call it asymmetric bending. How about the third figure, the angle iron M section, or we call it angle irons? Angle iron by itself is an asymmetric section, right? The section by itself is asymmetric. It doesn't have any plane of symmetry, right? So if this is the case, then automatically it indicates that the bending is asymmetric bending because there is no plane of symmetry. So we can't actually talk about this in symmetrical. So automatically I need to name called asymmetrical bending. So this is the basic difference between what? Symmetrical and asymmetrical bending. So this is already covered in the string of Mathias spot. So the discussion now will be on such kind of members where couple acts at a different plane of symmetry. Okay. So you remember this equation? Let me have my point. This equation is called the Fletcher equation, and it's applicable for what? It's applicable for symmetrical bending. Symmetrical bending. So look here. On this figure, you can see symmetrical sections. This is rectangular section, I section, this is round section. In all cases, the stress induced due to such bending moments is it can be found by this expression. It can be found by this expression, which is sigma x equal to mz y over iz. What is sigma x? It is a stress along x direction. So clearly, if you look at on the figure, moment about d axis causes a stress along x direction. It causes stress along x direction. You can see this thing here. Where is z axis for this case? If this is x, y, then z axis is normal to the screen, right? Now imagine applying a couple. So clearly you can see that if you apply a couple, okay, this way, then what's going to happen? Well, the top portion or top surface of the beam is subjected to a tensile stress, and the bottom one is going to be under compression. It's going to be under compression. So, and notice here that these Y, Z axes are principal centroidal axes. Principal centroidal axes. One thing that you need to remember when using this expression is that it's valid only for what? For when bending is about a principal axis. This equation is only valid whenever the couple is acting along one of the principal centroidal axis. What does it mean? Principal centroidal axis. Principal centroidal axis means it is the axis on which product of inertia is zero. That's actually the thing. So this equation is only applicable for what? Symmetrical bendings where the coupled axis or the bending moment axis about the principal axis. So this is a truth that you need to know before using this expression. How does a coupled alley acting along z direction create a stress x? Well, clearly, if you try to bend a beam like this, then the stress direction is going to be along x direction. So the coupled acting is about the axis. Now let's go directly to this one, which is the case of unsymmetrical bending. Now let's have such random unsymmetrical section. And suppose this is the centroid. So we make it three-dimensional. So this is maybe, I can assume this one as the centroid of the section. Now let's just assume that these axes are principal centroidal axes. Let me call this one y, and this one can be x, and this can be z. Whenever I put points or assign axes like this, they should also specify the right hand rule. Look, x cross y should indicate what? The positive z direction. My thumb indicates positive z direction. So there is no random thing here. You need, whenever you assign this axis, you need always to follow the right hand rule principle. X cross y gives the positive z direction. Now, this section symmetrical? No, it's totally asymmetrical section. It looks like a potato. You can look at it. So totally asymmetrical. Now, for this, let me consider a random area, for example, a differential area somewhere here. Now, this area or differential element that I consider has this distance. For example, from xy plane, it's far by how much? By z size or z distance. But from xz plane, it's far by how much? Let me say by -1. Now look, definitely when the beam is subjected to a bending moment, then stresses are reduced on the surface of the beam, right? So at any point, it has stress sigma x. So for example, let me say I have here a stress equivalent to sigma x, stress along x direction. And if I multiply this one by the differential area, what does it give me? It gives me the force. It gives me the force. Now let's try to find out some equilibrium things. For example, for the beam to be in equilibrium, the sum of these differential forces on the surface of the beam or on the face of the beam should be equivalent to 0 for the whole beam to be in equilibrium, right? So what I do is, this sigma x dA, summation means it is integration. If you integrate these differential forces all through the area, then the summation should be equivalent to how much? 0. One thing that I forgot to tell you here is that this asymmetrical beam, is subjected to a couple along, say, z direction. This M is a couple along they acting along their direction. So due to this couple, this stress are created. This along these two. Now I usually put M on what? On one of the principal centroidal axes, right? Don't forget Ix, Iy, I mean X, Y, Z are principal centroidal axes. And intentionally I put M, which is a couple along one of the principal centroidal axes. In this case, I put M along the direction. Along the direction. Okay. Now let's find out, for example, the moment of this force, differential forces about say y-axis. About y-axis. Well, y-axis means this try to pull it along y-axis. What's going to happen? If I multiply it by z, then I get what? Moment about what? Moment about y, z. Is it y or z? If I multiply this one by z, then it's going to be moment about eh? It's going to be momentum because this is a momentum, right? Momentum force. If you multiply, what do you get? Moment along y, moment about y direction. But do we have a moment about y direction? So the summation of all of these moments should actually be equivalent to how much? Zero. Because I don't have a moment acting on the beam in the direction of y-axis. Right? I said already that the beam is, or this axis-elliptical beam is subjected to a couple acting along that direction. Right? So this is what we have. Or what if I multiply this differential force, which means this one, by this moment arm? What do I get? I get moment about what? About z axis. If I multiply this force by this momentum, what I get is a couple along the direction, which is equal to m in this case. Or you can call this one in z, and then it's going to be mz equal. You see? So this is what we have. Now don't forget, because m is acting, notice here, because m is acting along the principal centroidal axis, I can apply that Fletcher equation. The Fletcher equation, don't forget, is given by what? It is the general equation or Fletcher equation from single material, which is used for what? Symmetrical bending, where the couple acts along what? Along the plane of sailing. And those axes in the case of using this Fletcher equation, they are principal centroidal axis. So as long as here M is acting on the principal centroidal axis, again I can use this one, right? Now what I'm going to do. Let me say from this, what I notice is that stress actually varies like this. For this beam, I call this one maybe X, and I call this one Y. Look how stress varies. It varies like this. On the bottom, maybe like this. Now, when a couple of stress type is applied, the top portion is subjected to what? Compression or tension? Compression, right? If you apply a couple like this, all points above XZ axis they are subjected to what? Compression. So there is compressive stress. And the bottom one clearly is going to be on the tensile. So here you can see that maximum stress occurs where? When the distance is c. Let me say not automatically the value is equivalent to c. So maybe the measurement from this point to this point, I can actually move this. Now there is a linear variation of stress, the thing that I can see here on the figure. So at any point, I do have stress at any distance y from what you call the neutral axis or from the principal centroidal axis. So at any point y, I have a stress sigma. So because they do have a linear relation, and then I can actually make or form a relation between sigma and sigma 1. So what is the value of sigma? Well, from this diagram, the linear relation is going to be how much? Sigma max, and then what? And then c over y, I mean y over c will be the relation that I get from this one, right? Now, you bring this one, and substitute here. And let's see what's going to happen. Sigma x dA. Now in terms of sigma, then I can substitute. By the way, this is a stress along acceleration, so I can put for sigma x. Don't forget. So in terms of sigma x, I will have sigma max y over c, then I will have y multiplied by how much? Z then dA. And this whole thing should be equivalent to how much? 0. So look here. These things are constant, they will not actually vary. Maximum thing always remain maximum and c is always constant. So for the whole expression to be 0, then this integration of yz should be equivalent to, with respect they should be equivalent to how much? 0. So if this thing is satisfied, then what can I say about y and z axis? The principal centroidal axis. Because we have said that this is actually product of the moment of motion. This is equivalent to Iyz is equivalent to y. It means this product of moment of inertia. So the whole thing now gets to be equivalent to 0 means automatically it indicates that whenever on a given axis the product of inertia is 0, then the axes are what? Principal centroidal axes. So it indicates that y axes are principal centroidal axes. So this is the conclusion that we can make on this one. So all in all, the summary of this thing is, if you have given asymmetrical section, and if you are able to find out the principal centroidal axes, one more, and if your couple is acting on one of the principal axes, then you can directly apply or use what? The Lecture equation. We call this one Lecture equation. Don't forget. Lecture equation. Now, look, this is a thing that we can conclude from this one. So all this thing discussed here already on the board. This one. Now let's see this one. What kind of beam is it? It is a T section beam. We call this one T section. It looks like this, so we call it T section. This is a T section beam. Now look at the first figure. Look, the plane on which the couple is acting. Now I agree with you that this T section has one plane of symmetry. But unlikely, what you call the couple is acting in a different plane. It's not acting on the plane of symmetry. What is the plane of symmetry for this T section? Plane of symmetry is xy. Xy is the plane of symmetry. But the couple is acting as a different plane. Look, my thumb indicates always what? Direction of vector. This one, rotation. So how do I try to figure out where the plane is? Wait. So the plane is going to actually be like this. So let me recreate that diagram here again. So look here. I have here a T section. Same figure. This is my T section. It's a principal centroidal axis, by the way. It's a principal centroidal. This is the centroid. This is what I call X. This is what I call D. I mean Y. Y. Now look. This is the couple vector. This is the couple vector N. And it makes under how much? Theta with x-axis. Where is the plane? Where is the plane on which this couple is acting? Can you show it on this figure? Yes, I can show you. This is the plane on which your couple is acting. A plane. Plane. You see, the two should make how much? 90 degrees. When the move is making three-dimensional, this is the plane on which your couple is acting. A plane. Right? So how does the vector is applied? D. You see? Vector, your couple vector is always normal to the plane on which the couple is acting. That is plane. Plane on which what? the couple is acting. But how do we show or represent the vector? Well, the vector is normal to the plane on which it's acting. Meaning, this is a plane and it's always normal to the plane on which it's acting, and it means like this, right? That's why we do it like so. This is the plane. Or the other way of representing the plane shown here with this one is represented like this. So this is a thing that we need to notice. Now already I said that these are what? Principal, centroidal axes, right? Now I can resolve this M onto the two axes. We say this is moment couple along y direction, and this is what? Couple along z direction. Now look, I can resolve this total couple vector onto what? Y and z axis. So I can get this one. My is equivalent to how much? M sine of theta. Mz is how much? M cosine of theta. Now what are the directions of My and Mz? Clearly, My and Mz are acting well. They are acting on or in the direction of what? The plane of, in the direction of the principal centroidal axis. Because they are acting on the principal centroidal axis, I can freely apply what? I can freely use what? The flexion equation. Well, the flexion equation, don't forget, because this is the general one. N, Y, I. N is bending moment or couple acting. Y is the distance of the point that you consider. From where? The neutral axis. I is what? The moment of inertia. Second moment of area, or before is moment of inertia. This is what we have. Now let's see that. Okay, can you tell me the thrust direction that's straightened when you apply My or couple My? Is it along X or is it along Y? Can you tell me the direction of thrust that's created by My couple? It creates what kind of thrust? Does it create thrust along X or Y? I will take the direction. So let me say, for now, I'm going to say, for example, talk about this point. I'm going to read. By the way, the two couples create stresses along x direction. Stresses along x direction, right? M1, look, when you apply M1, it's going to be like this, and it's going to bend the thing like this, right? So where is the stress direction? It's along this direction, right? Oh, it's my mistake. This should be what? Zeta axis. Should be zeta axis. I'm referring to that it should be zeta axis. Now, if you apply a couple like this, then the surface is subject to what? A tensile stress, technical direction along x direction. X direction. This is the stress direction. No mark of the problem. So for this, how do I write the stress expression? Well, using M, Y. Then if this is Y, then this should be how much? I1. Right? My, I1. And what is the measurement or the distance of the point that I consider? From where? From the y-axis. So this is equivalent to how much? Let me say z. So I consider this point. So this should be multiplied by how much? Z. Is it positive or negative distance? Now, whenever you apply a couple like this point specifically is subjected to tensile stress. So clearly it is positive. Stress direction and x. How stress created due to couple mz? Well, mz divided by what? Iz. Huh? This is moment of inertia about the axis. And this thing should be multiplied by the distance of the point from the axis. Meaning it is how much? Y. Y. What is the stress direction due to mz decoupling? Z direction x. The direction is x. Positive or negative? negative compression. Because the point is here, if you apply couple like this, then it experiences a negative or compression. So that's why we have a negative side. Now the question is, what is the total stress acting on this point due to the couple M? Where total stress is going to be what? The superposition of the two stresses. Superposition means adding the sum of the two stresses resulting from what? The two component components. So total stress along its direction, if you see, is equivalent to how much? Minus mz y over lz plus my then z divided by how much? Iy is the expression. What about? This is the expression of total stress for the beam, which is subject to a couple M, which is subject to a couple M. Then this is how you find out. Now look, remember always the tricks that I used. Then I haven't actually developed an equation, but rather I use the same equation, which is a Fletcher equation, in a systematic way. Meaning, whenever I am given such a couple, which is out of the plane of symmetry, what I did is very simple, right? What do? I simply resolve the couple vector onto what? Onto the principal centroidal axis, and then what? Use the Fletcher. Because as long as the given axis is not principal centroidal axis and the moment axis along those principal centroidal axis, I can use what? The Fletcher equation. So this is what I have. How about the rotation of the neutral axis? How do I find out the neutral rotation? Very simple. If we wish to find out the rotation of the neutral axis, simply on the neutral axis, we say that we know that the stress is equivalent to 0, right? Total stress is 0 on the neutral axis. So if you get an expression to 0, you get an expression or an equation of the line for the neutral axis. So equate this one to 0, what will happen? Y is equivalent to my over mz in what? Is it right if I say here z? Yes, negative 1. And then I do have this one. Iy, let me write like this. Iy, I mean Iz over Iy multiplied by how much? Z. But what is this one? M sin theta over m cos theta, right? M1, M is going to be tan theta. So I can replace this one with tan theta. Tan of theta. You see these things are constant. What is the allocation of the straight line? Y is equal to mx plus phi is allocation of theta. So for this case, then p is 0. Then this is allocation of a straight line with slope how much? Slope of tan of, I mean, this means beta plus Ij over I1. Tan of theta is the equation of the line for the neutral. So with such method, you can find out the location or direction. So you see this figure. I think this figure still tries to demonstrates the same thing, but you can look at it on side dimensional. For example, MZ couple MZ is acting on which plane? Couple MZ is acting on which plane? It's acting on XY plane, right? Couple MZ is acting on what? On XY plane. But whenever I put the direction of the couple, it should be normal to the XY. So now you need to identify two basic things here. One word which I'm saying is that M is acting on XY plane means it's like this. Well, do I use my anyways, then you see XY is a plane on which the couple is acting. Then how do I put the direction of MZ or how do I denote it in terms of vector? Well, it should be normal to the XY axis, right? X, Y axis this one. So MZ should be normal to that one. This is how I put the vector. But theoretically, I say that MZ is acting on which plane? On XY plane. Okay. On which plane does MY acting? My is acting on which plane? on x plane. Look. But how do I denote the direction? Well, in terms of vector, this is how I represent it. Technically, I say that my is acting on plane xz. My is acting on plane xz. But notation of the vector, or notation of the focal in terms of vector, is going to be normal to the plane on which this focal is acting. So I need to make a clear distinction between these two. So the same thing that I will discuss you. Now let's see the part is curved beams. Curved beams. Now here you need to notice that the equation, the so-called deflection equation, is applicable only when what? What was the assumption when we developed the deflection equation? We said as well. The first and primary assumption was what? The beam is straight, right? So flexion equation is applicable as long as the beam is straight. That was the assumption when we were developing the equation, that flexion equation. What if the member or the section is curved like this? This is a hook. That one is a C clamp, J hook, G clamp. These are all machine components. So if you have such kind of curved members, if you wish to find out the so-called stresses, then the equation that we have is no more applicable. The flexion is no more applicable for such kind of curved beams. Right? For this, we need to formulate another equation. Another equation for finding that helps us find out stress in curved beams. So from this, as you can understand, when you say curved beam, it's a kind of beam which has initial curvature. For application of the load, it has some initial curvature. If that is the case, then we call it curved beam. Curved beam. Clearly, this is curved one. It's a hook. That one is a C clamp. It has curved feature. The same thing for J hook, something like that. So these are examples of curved. So how do we find out stresses? Even a chain link is a curved beam. This is considered as a curved beam. So the equation that we have, the so-called flexion equation, is no more applicable for such a case. We need to formulate a new equation. We need to formulate a new equation. So let's see the mechanics of finding equation of stress for so-called curved beams. So this equation only is applicable for what? Straight beams. Because that was the assumption when we were developing this equation, if you remember from materials 1. Now let us consider such kind of initially curved beam. You see this one? This figure is it demonstrates a curved beam, initially curved beam. And look, it has center of curvature, C. C is called center of curvature. And look, what is theta? Theta is the angle that this so-called curved beam subtends. And then look here, this red line, it denotes the surface, it denotes the neutral surface. R denotes, or the radius R denotes the neutral surface. Distance of the neutral surface from what? From the center of curvature. From the center of curvature. This is actually a situation before bending occurs. Now let us apply a bending couple like this. Bending moment. When you apply bending moment, then look how things are deformed, right? For example, when you apply bending after application of bending moment, then you don't expect, for example, arc FG to be equal with F prime G, F prime G prime, right? There is a difference because after the application of the load, well, there is going to be elongation at the bottom surface, right? And the same as there is going to be contraction on the top surface. This is actually true when a curved beam is subjected to a bending moment. Now, look from the figure. Let me show you some basic things that you need to know. Now, what did I say? I said that capital R denotes the distance of the neutral surface Distance of neutral surface from where? From the center of curvature. Don't forget, R denotes, capital R denotes the distance of the neutral surface from where? From the center of curvature. Now, if we agree on this thing, look, we know that on the neutral surface there is no deformation, there is no stress, the surface is stress free, right? Now, having this thing in mind, this truth should be satisfied. Arc located there. Before application of the load, arc DE. Arc DE means it is the neutral surface arc, right? Arc DE. Arc DE should be equal to arc DE prime. Why? Because this arc DE is a neutral surface. There is no change in length at all. It will always remain the same. Now, what is arc DE? Length of arc DE, I will tell you, it is simply how much? R multiplied by theta. It is a situation before bending. What will happen after bending? Well, because it's in neutral surface, even after you apply load, there is no change. So meaning, what is the length of arc DE prime? It is R prime theta prime. This is the truth that we need to note. Another thing to see is that if you consider any point or any line or any surface which is far by y distance from the neutral surface, then definitely there is going to be deformation on it, right? Initially, the length of this, for example, arc JK is how much? How much is the length of JK? That is smaller multiplied by theta. Then after application of a load, well, it deforms, right? It's not a neutral surface, so therefore it should deform by some amount. So this is equivalent to R prime theta prime. This is so now from this end, if I actually subtract one from the other, then I get what? I get the deformation. Deformation is equivalent to how much? R prime theta prime minus R theta. This is another case that we need to notice on what we call on the curvature. Another thing you need to notice from the thing is that, or from the figure is that, r plus that y is the distance of that arc jk from the neutral surface, should be equivalent to how much? Capital R. Capital R, don't know, it is distance to the neutral axis. R is what? R is the point that we, or the surface that we consider from where? From the neutral surface, I mean from the center of curvature. Is the thing that we are here considering. That's why we do have the R plus Y. You see this one? R prime plus Y gives R prime. R plus Y gives us what? Capital R. So now, substitution of this thing into equation 3 gives equation 5. Apply Hooke's law, where it says that sigma x is equal to elastic modulus multiplied by strain. And if you substitute it from equation 5, then we get this one. So alternatively, this one, this equation can be expressed as this one, because we know that y means it is r minus, after r minus smaller, right? So we do have this one. We get there. If you try to plot, for example, the variation of stress, then you end up with this expression. It's not linear. Now look here. The stress variation in curvature is not actually linear, but rather it is, because of the rational function, there is a curved one. So it's not actually linear. There is no linear proportionality for what we call stress in beam. Now from this diagram, we can see one basic thing. One, stress on the face of the curved beam should always be equal to zero. Summation of stress. I mean, summation of forces, multiplication rate, right? Like we did before. The individual sigma x multiplied by dA is a force for the beam to be in equilibrium. The summation should be equivalent to how much? 0. This is one truth, which is given by equation A. Equation 9, the sum of the forces multiplied by their moment arm should give you how much? The total coupled acting, which is given by equation 9. Now already we got equation 7. So if you substitute equation 7 into equation 8 and 9, or 7, this equation 7 into 8, then you get these expressions. This one, simplification, will actually gives you this one, and then you arrive finally at this point. Where it says that finally, the distance of the neutral surface from from the center of curvature is given by how much? It's given by A over dA over R. This is an expression of the distance of the neutral surface from the neutral axis. And given of what centroid is? Centroid is given by how much? R dA divided by what? Total area. This is a thing that you know in mechanics of materials. You see? Are the two equations same? No, they are not different. This is centroid. Centroid. This is what? Distance of neutral surface from center of curvature. Let me now show you here with the diagram. Look, suppose I have here a rectangular section like this, and you may consider, for example, the center of curvature is right somewhere here. Now, when I say, let me make it another kind of section, maybe circle, or like this. Look, it is center of curvature. So when we say R, R means it is the distance of neutral surface or neutral axis from where? From center of curvature. This is R. And this one, R bar means the centroid. Centroid means it may lie somewhere here. The centroid of the section is far from the center of curvature by how much? R bar. So this is actually the basic difference between the two. So we do have this one. Okay, this is what we have. So again, if you substitute equation 7, which is this one, into equation 9, onto this one, you end up with this expression. Or since y is this one, we're making some simplifications and going through all the necessary mathematical end up with these stress expressions that I already told you. And you can apply, you can use this one, or you can use this one, or what? You can use the bottom one, which is sigma x equal to m r minus r divided by how much? A is r is going to be the expression. So you can use this one or this one to find out stress induced in what? In a curved beam. In a curved beam. So I'll show you how you apply this expression with an example. But this is what you need to do. Don't forget always, yeah, already I wrote it here. E means it is eccentricity and is equivalent to how much? The centroid, distance of centroid from center of curvature minus the distance of the neutral surface from the center of curvature. If you do so, you get the value of E. So this is actually the concept or equation that helps us find out what we call distance of neutral axis. I mean stresses in curved beams. In curved beams. So these are different sections. Equations of R. I mean, the equations that help us to find out the value of R for different sections. Trapezoidal, triangle, circle, rectangle. I will show you how we find out these R things with, for example, rectangular section. So let's now turn off this one and go to the classical way. I'll show you how we find out the expression. Now look here. It's better to explain this thing with an example. So I was recording this for the other section. Gani today.